Your soul is not interested in what you're doing. It's interested in why you're doing it. And this is where intention is the most important thing, because the why determines how you are going to move in this world, how you are going to manifest, what you're going to manifest, what you're going to reap, and what you're going to sow. It is all going to be dependent on the why. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Call Cut with Angelique. Today, we are going to answer the question, why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? It is a question that a lot of people have been asking as we see the state of the world around us and all of the chaos and drama and violence and greed and power control narratives. And it's really depressing a lot of people and letting people's will drop lower and lower. People are really sad about it and they don't know how to react to it. And it really does beg to ask this question. And so we are going to answer it the best that we can. So let's get right into it. When we ask these kinds of questions as to why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people, we have to remember that the universe is not a merit system. The universe reflects back what your will or belief system is standing strongest on. So that means that if your belief that what you're doing is right, or you absolutely believe that you are deserving of all of the things that you are trying to manifest, you are going to manifest those things. And that is whether you are operating out of your higher will or your lower will. Now, higher will and lower will I spoke about on a previous podcast, but to give you the Reader's Digest version, here it is. When you're operating out of your lower will, that is things like greed, violence, power, gluttony, jealousy, envy, things that are really selfish tendencies. When you operate out of your higher will, these are tendencies that are more selfless. You make choices that are in alignment with goodness or helping other people. You think about whether or not your actions are going to affect somebody in the positive, and you act accordingly. When you are operating from your lower will, you think about the same things, but you operate from your own selfish gain and not necessarily for the benefit of all. Again, that's the Reader's Digest version. I go into this in depth in one of the previous podcasts, so you can definitely listen to that if you want to know more about higher will and lower will. And so everything that we do in this lifetime is a choice, and we get to choose to behave from our higher will, or we get to choose to behave from our lower will. And we enact this through free will. Free will is the choice to move on either side of the polarity spectrum. That being said, someone who is operating from their lower will, but is in their conviction, is going to get what they want. Now, this doesn't mean that the law of cause and effect isn't in play. It absolutely is. But it does mean that they may gain ground. They may seem like they're quote unquote winning. They may seem as though they're getting away with it. And it infuriates people who have service to others mentality, who are coming out of their higher will. But I will say something about people who are inherently good. There's this weird sort of co-opting of goodness to mean that people are weak or they're not as strong because they're not, actively climbing over other people to get what they want. This is a farce. This is something that is absolutely not true. It's also where we get that kindness is not synonymous with weakness. But again, that's another kind of false association that has happened over the years of this consciousness that says, if you're not stepping over people, if you're not mowing people down and you're not better than someone else or have more or, appear to have more, then somehow you are inferior. It's absolute bullshit. And once you step out of that consciousness and you realize that you can be a good person and set boundaries, you can be a good person and not take shit. You could be a good person and walk away from toxic situations. And you can be a good person and take action against injustice. Those are all true. So all of those things can live within the same narrative. Conversely, when we have people that are acting out of their lower will, right? They can be bad people and they can do good things or things that people think are good. It could seem like they're doing things for the greater good when really underneath the intention is self-serving. We see a lot of that playing out in politics and in the geopolitical landscape right now. And I am not going to go down that road, but certainly you can turn on any social media platform or news channel or internet, wherever it is that you get your information, and you could see that and hear that with your own two eyes and ears. That being said, it is infuriating when we feel as though those kinds of people that are really just service to self are gaining so much while people who are service to others are losing. What we have to realize about this is that everything comes down to intention, the power of your word, the power of intention. If you are somebody who truly believes with all your heart that you are deserving, you will get that thing that you are deserving of. If you are somebody that truly believes that you were destined for something and you take action on it, then you will eventually get it. So it's all about willpower. That's why it's called willpower. It is actual empowerment that pushes you into the emotion of already having or receiving, which is a high level emotion. And then the universe responds in kind by manifesting that with which it is that you are intent upon. All that being said, intention has to be nuanced. And what people who have good hearts tend to do is they scatter their energy. And they scatter their energy in all these different places. So they're not always focused. The other thing that tends to happen to people that are good hearted or good willed is that their energy leaks a lot more. They give their light away, their light pours into other people. And oftentimes they find that they don't have enough energy for themselves. And that can leave them drained. And when you're drained, you feel like you don't have the power to do anything. Selfish people do not leak energy, friends. They do not. They keep and maintain their energy, and they take other people's energy. And that's, the parasitic relationship of narcissists, for example, that they're constantly living off of the light of others. Again, people who are living off their lower will are feeding off of people who are living off their higher will, because that is a more highly coveted energy. It's just they don't realize yet that they can use their free will to choose a better path or a different way, one that is alignment with harm none, or in alignment with the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. Everything is choice. So when we think about the choice to make a good decision, or you're in your life and you're like, but I'm a good person and I don't understand why these bad things keep happening to me. You have to look at the intention behind things. Are you operating off of doubt? Are you operating off of low self-esteem? Do you inherently believe that you are undeserving, but you're hoping and wishing and praying that you can get something? Because hoping and wishing and praying don't work out. Remember, the universe is not a merit system. And for those of you that don't understand what I mean by that, I'm going to give you an example. And I hope this clarifies it a bit. People who donate to charity, and I have heard this so many times, I think my head is like spinning. There are people who truly believe if they do a good thing, like, oh, if I give this charity money, I'm going to get this, this, this in return. The intention behind their action is self-serving. Yes, they are giving money to the charity, but the reason they're giving it to them is because they truly believe if I give them this, then I get something in return. Then you have another person who says, I'm going to give this to somebody because I know how hard it is and I have more than they do. And you know what? We're a community and we all have to take care of each other. Both people are donating to a charity, but they're doing so for completely different reasons. Their energetic profile, their vibration, and their frequency are completely different. One is coming from service to self, the other is coming from service to others. Now, their karmic, if you will, karma is a very loaded word. I would say the law of cause and effect that is going to come back to greet each person is also going to be very different, right? The person who is selfish is going to reap benefits of selfishness, meaning they may meet people who are constantly glomming onto them for money or glomming onto them for opportunity, right? Those people are bottom feeders or social climbers, etc., but they're doing it because they want something off of those people. Whereas the other person might actually align with genuine souls who want to do community efforts or work together in harmony to create a project or, some sort of endeavor. That is the difference between intention. And intention is really important. Your soul is not interested in what you're doing. It's interested in why you're doing it. And this is where intention is the most important thing, because the why determines how you are going to move in this world, how you are going to manifest, what you're going to manifest, what you're going to reap, and what you're going to sow. It is all going to be dependent on the why. Now, when we look at all of this in this grand scheme, yes, on the outside, it looks like evil is prevailing. It does look that way. And it can be incredibly disheartening, friends. It can make people feel terrible. But I assure you, because the intention is inherently selfish, because this is playing out on a global scale and we are seeing a lot of these narcissistic themes play out over and over again, it is because we need to heal from them. Humanity is ready to heal from violence, from war, from comparison, from competition, from jealousy, from envy, from greed. It is ready to heal. The problem we are facing right in this moment is we're in the paralysis stage. And the paralysis stage happens when we need to make a choice, right? This is the great divide that is spoken of in the Bible, where there's going to be people who choose that higher road and others that choose the lower road. Not everybody is going to go to the same spot. It really is a free will choice. Are you going to align with service to self, or are you going to align with service to others? And that is individual. Nobody can tell you what to do. I will say that all souls do eventually end up to the same spot. So when you see all of these people out there, yes, they are going to have to reap the effect of these causes. It may not be in the way that we're hoping that it happens, but it will actually happen. They will bring about their own downfall because they are trying to bring about the downfall of others on a mass and global scale. And energetically, that just never works out in the way you want. It doesn't matter how much magic you're doing, how much energy you're putting around it. This whole idea of cardinal law that, if you tell people what you're doing to them, then, you don't reap the karma of that is absolute total bullshit. As a matter of fact, it sounds like something very manipulative that people would say to other people to get them to do dirty bidding and not worry about karmic retribution. And that's how you get people trapped in continuing to act out in their lower will because they believe they can't be harmed. They believe that they're not going to get any negative effects from the things that they're causing. But that is not how energy works. Energy works on a spiral and it whips around on different vibratory levels. You could think of it as an octave, and it works on different levels. And all you're doing is whipping around your action. That action is going around and it's gaining speed and it's pulling everything into its sphere that is of the same vibration, and it's smacking itself right back at you. So there is no other law that is going to prevent that. That is absolutely going to happen. It will play out in different ways for different people. And it plays out in ways that we may not have wanted it. Everybody kind of wants the eye for an eye, but it does play out for the highest and best for all the souls that are learning lessons through these experiences. All that being said, we can only control how we operate. We can only control what we are willing to do or not willing to do. We certainly cannot control others. We can hold ourselves in high vibration even when there's a lot of nonsense going around that's heartbreaking and that takes us down. We can choose love all the time over hate. We can choose unity over division. We can choose all of these things on an everyday basis. That's our actual power. It is our heart chakra that is being constantly attacked. And so I tell you, friends, don't let these narratives take you down. Don't let the narrative of why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people take you down. It all works out. The part that I would hone in on is if you are a good-hearted person and if you are somebody who is typically harm none, service to others, and you do believe in the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you, then I would say this: armor yourself, strengthen yourself, stand in your conviction. Don't be afraid to speak your truth. One of the things that also happens to good people is that they're afraid to ruffle feathers and they're afraid to, make waves in the water. But sometimes you have to do that. And you have to be okay with the fact that there are always going to be people who challenge you. There are always going to be people who challenge your goodness. Oh, you're not such a nice person. Or, oh, you're not so kind. Okay. Wah, 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 wah. Tune it out. Not giving a crap what anybody thinks and standing in your own heart's energy is exactly what you need to do. We have a tremendous amount of power, but we don't use it. And it's usually fear that keeps us down. It's fear that keeps us in these loops. It's fear that says, nope, don't speak your truth. Nope, don't say that. Nope, don't ruffle the feathers. Nope, don't make waves. But we need to move past the fear, and we have to stand in our conviction. And we have to sometimes stand in what we feel is truly right. As much as you want to justify something, harming other human beings to gain anything is not correct. And it doesn't matter on what side of the fence you're doing it. It's not right. I always say to my kid, 2 wrongs don't make it right, sir. And that is a fact. Every side that fights on something thinks that they are the winning team. Every person who has a perspective thinks that that perspective is the correct perspective, but it's just a perspective. It's one in billions, and it's not true. Like, we have all these narratives that people have made, putting people in superior positions to other, and it's all bullshit. It's narrative. It's all story, fantasy. None of it is real. We're all here. We were all created by source. We were all brought here in some way or another. We're all flesh and blood. There is no flesh and blood that is better than another. There is none that is higher. There is no life on this planet that is worth more than another. And if that is what you believe, I suggest you go inward and really meditate on that. We are all living the best we can with what we have. And there are going to be people who have more. There are going to be people who have less. There are going to be people who have good days and there are going to be people who have bad days. It's constantly going to go back and forth and back and forth. The only thing we can do about it is strengthen our intention, strengthen our conviction, strengthen our will, and remember that you are far more powerful than you think you are. You are far smarter than you think you are. And you're much braver than you think you are. You'd be surprised how many people, when really pushed to it, come through on the other side with an unbelievable amount of courage, whether it's courage to stand up, courage to speak out, or courage just to keep that high level vibe no matter how low they try to get you to go. We are not living in times right now that are for the faint of heart. We are living in times where it really does seem, as I said before, that evil is winning the game and that kind of evil is about to stomp its way all over the earth. But I assure you, friends, that is not how this is going to end. We get to rewrite the life that we want to live, the beautiful projection that Mother Earth is here to give us. We get to write that story. We get to write that story by constantly living in our highest and best self, constantly calling cut on these old fear narratives and lifting ourselves to our best and highest timeline, despite everything that's crashing around us. If any of you have ever read anything by the Buddha was sitting under the Bodhi tree in meditation in perfect peace while all this chaos was happening around him, and he was completely undisturbed. And that's kind of how we have to be. We have to be completely undisturbed no matter how many times the jinn or the devil comes and tries to tell you to look at this or, well, look at that, and convince you that evil is winning and good things are happening to evil people. Don't let your peace be disturbed. Keep that picture in your mind of the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree and just being completely peaceful no matter what is being thrown his way. That's the challenge that we are going to have right now. The challenge is to stay peaceful, to stay high vibing, to stay in that higher will, and to be the good person that you are, and not to allow people to take you down to their level by saying things to you like, oh, you're not that nice. The thing to do is to work on those parts of you that are keeping you stuck. The parts of you that say, I'm not good enough, or my voice doesn't matter, or nobody cares what I think, or my opinion doesn't mean anything, or I have to be a people pleaser. No, you don't. You can be a good person and not a people pleaser. Those things are not synonymous, right? As I said, good people have boundaries. You could be kind, but tell somebody where to go when they cross a line. I do it all day, every day. I have no problem telling somebody you crossed a line with me and now you're going to have to back up. Doesn't mean I'm not kind. Doesn't mean I don't love people. Doesn't mean I'm not a champion of humanity, but it does mean that I'm not tolerating some low vibing bullshit. That's how you step into your power. Letting people mow over you is because you have a low self-esteem. Low self-esteem keeps you down. It's that lower vibrational energy of I'm not good enough. It's hard to manifest good things in your life when you don't feel you're deserving. If we go to the top of this conversation, I mentioned that people who do evil deeds are acting out of their lower vibrational energies or lower will. They believe they deserve it. So should you. You deserve it too. The universe is not a merit system. You don't get rewarded for being a good person. You attract things to yourself on the frequency you are vibrating at. So if you're vibrating from self-esteem and confidence, you will notice that good things will happen to you, the good person. If you operate from, it's never going to happen to me, I'm not worthy, but I'm trying to do good things, but I'm still not worthy, but I'm tolerating, I'm trying to be kind, but people are still being mean to me. There's so much in there that's conflicting. And I will do an entire other podcast on this because these are not cut and dry issues. They're really, really deep. And within every single thing lives polarity. So it's not as cut and dry as it looks. There's false light and there's light. There's false dark and there's dark. It's insane how nuanced it gets. And because it's so nuanced and because we don't study energy dynamics and we don't really know as much about ancient civilizations and mythologies as we should, because so much of that information has been co-opted and destroyed and twisted and altered, we get stuck. Right now, our hearts are going to be the guides to lead us where we need to go. So we have to stand fully in our heart light. Stand in your heart. Remember, we harm none. We do unto others as we would want done unto us. We live that truth, and all of a sudden, everything will change around you. Have confidence that you are where you should be. You matter. You are a good person. The more you do that, you will see your world will change and you will say, oh, good things do happen to good people. And conversely, you will see that the law of cause and effect will come back to smack those little guys in the behind that are acting out in their lower will. But again, that is going to take some time. And we can't be focused on what is going on with other people. We can only be focused on what we are going to use our consciousness for. If you use your consciousness for the greater good of all, I promise you the world will arrange around you. Keep vibing high. Keep that beautiful soul, loving, kind, taking no shit, and doing what you have to do to be that light in the world that is always shining. Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angelique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.